All right, it's Wednesday, June 21st. This is an end of the day SPY recap, and today we end up with a two down red day. We took out the lows of the previous day. We held below the midpoint of the previous day. We kind of opened up and immediately went lower, had a little bit of a rally, and then we kind of closed near the lows of the day at the end of the day. So what's developing here is the way I see it now. If you look at this green bar from this was Thursday of last week, I believe. And then you had this inside bar here that was kind of a pause bar. But overall, if you look at that as just the two up bar, and now yesterday took out the low of that bar, to me, these 3 days are kind of, and especially these last 2 days, were just a compound two down day of that green bar with a target down here. Which is a little bit lower. I can get to that in a second, but the actual level is kind of the 433.59 area. So today, as we kind of moved lower here out of the gates, you could see our low of the day was 434.33. So we didn't reach that low target. But right out of the gates, what happened was the SPY moved lower here, had a little pull back to the midpoint, then tried another push down and kind of failed, and had your green bar here. So I kind of saw this as a potential reversal, that you were coming down to a target that looked pretty high probability. You didn't reach it in two pushes, so I thought I'd give it a shot in terms of possible a reversal. But for that to happen, I knew you had first there was a target up here, and I shot a video discussing this. Then we came to the intraday highs, and we kind of failed a little bit. We eventually got there, and then we failed towards the end of the day. The thing was, even though the SPY itself was kind of trying to mount a little possible reversal, it would have had to close strong. You would have had to end up with like a hammer bar or a green bar by the end of the day to confirm that. I knew kind of the QQQs or the NASDAQ stocks was much weaker on the day. You can see that opened up and had a much bigger push down, and just kind of came up to almost the midpoint of that move and then closed near its lows. So the market itself was certainly kind of weak, but you didn't know for sure what would unfold. I bought some calls here, and that ended up being a decent trade, a short-term trade. It kind of reached targets. I set it up at no risk, and then once you had it up here, you had an opportunity to watch it once you were breaking through the highs of the day in the open. Were you going to close green or not? And then once you failed on these two bars, I shot a video how I decided to buy some puts, just given the fact that I can sense the market was weak overall, given the QQQs. The SPY just really kind of on a short-term basis made lower lows and higher highs here, and then I could see it rolling over. And in the end, when I really think about it, I see this inside bar is a little confusing, because you almost have to treat these two bars as a two down bar and then a target down here. So I think we're heading down to that target, at least at a minimum. And then at that point, we could see, do we end up with a two down week, which gets below the low of the previous week, or do we just close inside and maybe at some point reverse higher? But for now, I see the exhaustion risk. And that's another thing too, when I spread out the 15-minute chart. Once I've drawn this broadening formation earlier, and once this gap down yesterday kind of to the midpoint of that broadening formation, it kind of seems like we are coming through to the bottom of it, which is that target that I showed you on the daily chart. And if we get below there, then we could head a little bit lower as well, because there are some fair value gaps in this area that we might, but we'll see what happens. I'm just at this point going to play the downward trend in the short run and kind of see really what possibly unfolds, knowing that this is kind of a high probability target. Now, it's possible tomorrow we gap up right to the midpoint of that day and start higher and fine. And then, then you have to jump back to the long side. We have the green bar here, which is the open of the week. If we can get an up move, we have to get above there, turn the weekly chart back to a green, and then we can see if this is just kind of a little pause in the overall uptrend that just kind of only got to the halfway point of the prior week and starts higher. But for now, I'm kind of sensing a little bit of an opportunity to continue lower, and we'll just see if that unfolds. So today, again, a lot of stocks. I traded actually NVIDIA to the short side out of the gates, and that was a really nice morning trade. So the market was weak. And then I was trading, I just looked at the Bitcoin stocks that had a big move up. So you were able to buy it here and kind of reach its target that I discussed. Then it kind of settled in, and I discussed how this could be a pause area. But again, no risk at all buying it at this blue line with a target up here to scale out at a minimum or even take your profits on a short-term trade, because that was a high probability target. And then even that stock came off. So we'll see what happens. With the SPY here after hours is just kind of settling in. I think it should head lower towards this area as a first target, and then we'll see if that happens maybe right at the open. But the bottom line is now you're playing that downward bias unless we kind of get above the midpoint of today and start higher in the morning. So we'll just have to see how that unfolds in the morning.